Pope Francis's final hours, a heartfelt goodbye that moved the world. Introduction, a morning that shook the world. Easter Monday is usually a time of joy and celebration. Yet on this particular morning, a heavy silence fell across the globe. News broke from the Vatican. Pope Francis, the 266th leader of the Catholic Church, had passed away peacefully at the age of 88. The announcement stunned millions. Just hours earlier, Pope Francis had appeared in St. Peter's Square, frail but smiling, blessing thousands during the Easter Sunday Mass. His death, so sudden yet so symbolic during the Church's most important season, carried profound theological, emotional, and historical meaning. This is the story of his final hours, his extraordinary life, and the lasting impact of a pope who changed not just the Church, but the world. The last public appearance, a testament to enduring faith. On Easter Sunday morning, under the clear Roman sky, tens of thousands of faithful gathered in St. Peter's Square. Despite his frailty and confinement to a wheelchair, Pope Francis insisted on making a public appearance. Escorted by aides, he was wheeled through the square, pausing to bless infants, reaching out to touch pilgrims' hands, smiling weakly but warmly. His presence sent a strong message. Even amid suffering, hope endures. His Easter message, delivered by an aide as he watched attentively, called for peace in war-torn regions, an end to violence and solidarity with the oppressed. It was a final sermon of compassion, resonating deeply with all who heard it. No one could have predicted it would be his final message to the world. The man behind the papal white, Jorge Mario Bergoglio. Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1936, Jorge Mario Bergoglio grew up in a working-class family of Italian immigrants. His father worked on the railways. His mother was a homemaker. Bergoglio's early life was marked by simplicity, humility, and faith. He briefly worked as a nightclub bouncer and trained as a chemical technician before finding his calling in the Jesuit order. He was shaped profoundly by Argentina's political and social turmoil. Living among the poor and marginalized, he learned that true leadership requires proximity to those who suffer. When elected Pope in 2013, he chose the name Francis, after saint. Francis of Assisi, a saint known for his radical poverty and love for the downtrodden. It was a choice that would set the tone for his entire papacy. A revolutionary papacy of mercy and reform. Pope Francis's reign marked a departure from centuries of papal tradition. He rejected the lavish apostolic palace for a modest room in Casa Santa Marta. He declined traditional papal regalia, often appearing in simple white robes without the ornate capes worn by his predecessors. His first words as pope were not proclamations of power, but a humble request: "Pray for me." Francis made waves with his focus on social justice, the environment, and inclusivity. His 2015 encyclical Laudato Si called for urgent action against climate change. He championed the rights of migrants and refugees, calling the global indifference to their plight the globalization of indifference. He encouraged pastoral sensitivity toward divorced and remarried Catholics and LGBTQ+ individuals, famously saying, "Who am I to judge?" Under Francis, the Church became less about rigid dogma and more about radical mercy, challenges, criticisms, and perseverance. Of course, Francis's papacy was not without controversy. Traditionalists criticized his reforms as watering down doctrine. Vatican insiders resisted his efforts to clean up financial corruption. Political leaders clashed with his strong stances on capitalism, immigration, and the environment. Yet through it all, Pope Francis remained steadfast, often invoking the idea of synodality, walking together as the Church's future path. He believed that the church must listen more than it speaks, welcome rather than exclude, and accompany rather than dictate. The final illness and Easter's unexpected. Goodbye. In February 2025, Pope Francis was hospitalized with severe pneumonia. Though he recovered enough to return to his duties, insiders noted his increasing weakness. Still, he refused to withdraw from public life. Those close to him reported that Francis faced his mortality with peace, often quoting St. Paul's words, "I have fought the good fight. I have finished the race. I have kept the faith." His decision to appear publicly on Easter Sunday, despite immense physical strain, was a final gift to the world, a visible sign of perseverance, courage, and hope. At 7:35 a.m. on Easter Monday, surrounded by a small group of trusted aides, Pope Francis quietly passed into eternity, breaking with tradition. A simpler farewell. In life, Francis chose simplicity. In death, he demanded the same. Traditionally, a pope's body is embalmed, displayed on an elevated bier in St. Peter's Basilica, and buried within the Vatican after elaborate ceremonies involving 3 nested coffins: cypress, lead, and oak. Francis altered these customs. He chose not to be embalmed. His body was placed in a simple wooden coffin, lined with zinc but devoid of expensive adornments. He declined the grand public viewing, asking instead for a more humble farewell. Most remarkably, he requested to be buried not in the Vatican, but at the Basilica of St. Mary Major, a site dear to his heart and easily accessible to ordinary Romans. It was a profound symbolic gesture. Even in death, Pope Francis remained among the people. A world in mourning. News of his death rippled across the globe. In Buenos Aires, crowds gathered at the Metropolitan Cathedral to pray. In Rome, thousands poured into the streets, weeping openly. In Washington, D.C., Paris, Manila, Nairobi, and beyond, candlelight vigils were held. World leaders issued heartfelt tributes. U.S. President Jennifer Martinez called him the conscience of our time. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres praised his unwavering moral clarity in an age of moral confusion. Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, and Hindu leaders all expressed admiration for Francis's bridge-building efforts across faiths. The grief was universal because Pope Francis had become a figure of hope, not just for Catholics, but for humanity. The theology of dying. During Easter. For Christians, Easter is the ultimate celebration of resurrection of life, triumphing over death. That Pope Francis passed away during this sacred season imbues his death with profound theological resonance. His final days mirrored the Easter story itself: suffering, perseverance, self-giving love, and ultimately, entry into eternal life. In a very real sense, Pope Francis's death during Easter becomes a testimony to the Christian hope he preached all his life: that love endures, that mercy triumphs, that death is not the end. The road ahead, conclave and continuity. As tradition dictates, the College of Cardinals will meet in conclave, sequestered within the Sistine Chapel. The world waits anxiously. Will they choose a pope who continues Francis's vision, or will the Church pivot toward tradition once more? Regardless of the outcome, the next pope will inherit an institution profoundly transformed. A church more committed to the poor. A church more open to dialogue. A church less focused on rules and more on relationships. Francis' mark is indelible. His vision cannot be undone. A legacy. Written in hearts, not just history. Pope Francis leaves behind more than reforms. He leaves behind a way of being. Humility over grandeur. Service over status. Mercy over judgment. Community over division. He reminded the world that faith without compassion is empty, that leadership without love is meaningless. He called all people, not just Catholics, to build bridges, care for the earth, uplift the poor, and see the face of Christ in every person. His death invites us not to despair, but to carry his mission forward. Farewell, Holy Father, as the bells of St. Peter's toll in mourning, and the world gathers to bid farewell. We remember a simple man who carried an immense light. Pope Francis did not seek to dominate, but to serve. He did not seek glory, but grace. His final message remains etched in the hearts of millions. Build bridges, not walls. Go to the margins. Love without limits. Thank you, Holy Father. Your spirit lives on. Please like, share, and comment below. What memory of Pope Francis touched you the most? Subscribe for continuous updates as we follow the historic election of the new Pope.